Welcome to Here Where You Belong, your go-to podcast for exploring belonging with your host and belonging expert, Dea Irby. We are thrilled to have you join us. Together, we'll dive into the depths of what it means for each of us to find our own place in the world, whether it's within our communities, our relationships, or within ourselves. Today's episode is meant to inspire, uplift, and remind you that no matter where you are or where you're headed, you have a place where you truly belong. So, grab a cozy spot and settle in. Welcome to Here Where You Belong.
Hello, awesome belongers. Welcome home to Here Where You Belong podcast. Today's guests have spent most of their lives being called misfits and discovered that sometimes the people who don't fit the mold are exactly the ones God uses in extraordinary ways. I'm Dea, your host. Get ready to be inspired and blessed, and help me welcome Rick and Jane McKinney. Hello.
Hi, glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
So glad you are here. So let me tell you a little more about our guest today. Rick and Jane, a husband and wife ministry team, have spent a lifetime saying yes to God, even when they had no idea where that yes would lead. From planting churches and traveling the world in ministry to building a house in Mexico, serving in villages throughout India, and even, wait for it, walking across America. Rick and Jane have learned that the greatest adventures begin with simple obedience. But perhaps their most powerful lesson is this. After years of feeling like they didn't fit into anyone's cookie cutter definition, they discovered they already belonged completely and unconditionally to God. Today, they love helping others discover their identity, embrace their uniqueness, and find the place where they truly belong.
Yes.
Wow, spectabulous. Rick and Jane, any additions, subtractions, or corrections to that introduction?
Oh, I think you hit it pretty good.
You covered us pretty well.
We are from the island of misfit toys.
I love it. Well, as you know, this is a podcast about belonging, and I have invited you here to tell your story of belonging or how you create belonging in communities for other people. And unless I just stop and ask a clarifying question or a follow-up question, the mic is yours and go for it.
Okay. Well, Dea, we have a million stories. Well, probably thousands, let's say. So, do you want to start?
Yeah. We have, by the way, dedicated our lives in ministry to helping people who don't feel like they belong. And that is a huge task because even though people put on a show, they wear masks every day and they try to put on a good show for everyone. What we have found is that when you dig a little under the surface, a whole lot of people don't feel like they're a part. They don't feel like they belong. And that's my story for sure. All of my life, I was a pastor's son. So when I went to public schools, I was the only one who was a pastor's son. So I didn't belong in a lot of the groups. I didn't feel comfortable in a lot of the cliques that were present in school. I was always ahead of my grade level, always working with people who were older. My friends were all several years older. So in some ways, I didn't really belong there either. I went to college at 16. I didn't really belong there either. My roommate made fun of me because I couldn't vote. I wasn't even old enough to vote. And so I've spent a life not belonging for a lot of reasons. I had acne when I was a teenager, extremely rough case of that. And so I always felt awkward. I wore glasses. Just a lot of things made me feel uncomfortable. So I think once we entered ministry, it became one of our goals to find people like we were. And Jane can tell you her story about why she didn't feel like she belonged in every situation, but to make our ministry about reaching out to those people who didn't belong and didn't feel like they belonged and bring them into a group of some kind, if it was just a group between us and them, where they knew their value.
That is beautiful. Jane, tell us
Um,
yours.
I grew up in the 60s, and my parents divorced when I was 12. And in Oklahoma, very conservative Bible Belt, and my father actually was the music minister at our church. Um, that was very hard. Um, People didn't really, a lot of people didn't get divorced back then, and especially church people, you know. And so we immediately left that church, had to go to a new church. People knew why. I mean, and I was only 12. I was the oldest of four. My mom had never worked. She didn't drive. We had a kind of a rough way to go for a few years. And like I said to you in our pre-show, I'm a very outgoing person, very, very bubbly. So for a lot of the time, I was able to get past it myself, but I held a lot of hurt inside. And
Mhm.
like he said, kind of wore that mask of happiness. So when we met at school the second year of our freshman year,
Second week.
I mean, second week, and I was
School,
18.
college, school,
Yes,
school,
we went,
College.
college.
yes, Oklahoma Baptist University. He came all the way from the Cincinnati area to Oklahoma to meet me. That's another whole story because he was only 16. And normally, if he had gone to any other school or if he had come when he was 18, I probably wouldn't have met him. And so God had to work that out early on to get him there. And as soon as I met him, one, I knew that I was going to marry him. I went in the
No.
first night. I told my RA, I just met the guy I'm going to marry. She goes, no, 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 you're just a freshman. Slow down, slow down. But I knew. And I had been called when I was 10 years old. I had gone forward at a Christian camp, and the lady said, are you coming forward to be a missionary? And I said, no, I'm going to be a preacher's wife. And she goes, oh, okay. I never heard of that. But she said, I mean, she was very kind. She said, if God's called you to that, then good. And I really felt back then. So anyway, we started having Bible study together, and he was even though I was saved when I was 6, I became a Christian. I knew that I had Jesus in my heart. There was some bitterness, and I hadn't ever really grown very much. So by 18, I was kind of a Christian in just name only. And he had already been preaching since he was 14. He got called to preach when he was 14. His dad was a pastor, so he let him preach. And he knew a lot more about the Bible. So we started having Bible studies together. And one of the first things he said to me was, you got to make it right with your dad. And I said, but he hurt us. And he was right. I had to get over that, and I did. I made it right with him. And so there was just some growing experiences that had to happen, some letting go of some things before I could really, really belong anywhere. And I was always a singer. Our degrees are both in music, our undergraduates. And so that was always a help to me to be able to sing. And so whenever I was singing in the choir, anything like that, always helped me belong. So,
Wow.
I think one of the things, Dia, that causes people to be detached and feel as though they don't belong is because of the circumstances and situations they have experienced in their lives,
mhm,
especially if that involves hurt.
mhm,
Because if there's a wound, if there's a deep hurt, our first inclination as human beings is to withdraw, to pull back, to not trust people, to not love people, to not allow people to get close to us again. It's one of the
mhm,
big dangers in ministry because everybody gets hurt in ministry. And so many times, as pastors live out their ministry, they become more and more and more withdrawn from the congregations. And with every new church, I say, I'm not going to allow people to get that close to me again because it's always the people I'm close to that hurt me. So that works throughout life, though.
mhm,
When we've been hurt, divorce is one of the huge issues that our younger generations are facing today because divorce is so prevalent and really just looked at as
normal.
almost normal.
So,
And so every time that hurts, there is a tendency to feel like I don't belong. I don't belong to my dad anymore. I don't belong to my mom anymore, whoever I ended up with.
mhm,
I don't belong to the family anymore. They don't belong to me. And so it's a real problem with belonging when we've had hurts in our life. And I don't know very many people who haven't had a bunch of hurts in their life.
Yeah. I mean, life is tough. Nobody gets out alive.
Right.
That's a good one.
And we all do. And it's by the grace of God that we learn how to deal with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is you think you've handled all the hurts and now you're all better. Oh, wait, there's still that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're involved in many things that serve other people. Tell us a little about your approach or what you're doing or how you go about helping other people belong.
Okay. You want to go first?
Yeah. Well, I am a professor at University of the Cumberlands in Williamsburg, Kentucky. I love college students. I fell in love with them a few churches ago. Never had really had any contact with college students. We moved to a town, Marion, Indiana, where Indiana Wesleyan University is. They were very close. The campus was close to our building, and they'd never had, it was a brand new church. I was their first pastor, never had a college ministry. So we decided my daughter was available. She loved college students. I said, "Will you start a college ministry?" She said, "Sure." So we had three the first week. And by the time about 2 years had passed, we were running about 75 to 100 college students every Sunday morning. They were even coming to Sunday school, which meant they had to get up early, which was
What? On a
really,
weekend?
really crazy. But one of the things that I love about college students is that many of them, when they leave home and come to college for the first time, their faith gets tested, their morality gets tested, their commitments they've made to God get tested. And as they fail at those commitments, which they always do to some extent, they begin to pull away, many times away from their faith. I find that in my classes, when students begin to write papers, one of the things they say is, we used to be a Christian, but we don't believe anymore. We used to believe in God, but we don't believe anymore. And the reason is because my grandma died and I prayed for her to be healed and she wasn't healed. And so God let me down. And so there again, we go back to hurts, and it causes those college students to feel unworthy, unloved. They know they're doing something that isn't right or something that doesn't please God, and so they feel detached. So,
Not to mention, they're in a completely different environment,
right.
completely different situation. Maybe they're not good at making friends. Maybe they miss their friends back home. I mean, there are just all kinds of things that play into college students not belonging. And every college tries to put something out there for students to be a part of, but it doesn't reach them all. And so there's
And they
just a
don't have
lot.
the they don't have the support system they had at home.
Right.
There's nobody there propping up their faith, and they're at that point in their life where they have to make their faith their own. So one of the things that I do quite regularly is in my classes, I try to be very hands-on with every student that will let me. I offer to counsel with them, with Jane, if they're a female student. We go together and talk to them. I spend time in the cafeteria just having lunch with them. I do follow-ups on ministry students to try to encourage them and help them in their ministry assignments. It's just amazing. I offer to pay for their mission trips anytime that they're going to volunteer. Jane and I help
We
them
always help with
because
that.
we want to support them in that. We have missionaries all over the globe now who we've helped when they were college students take their first or second mission trip. Matter of fact, we have a couple coming to our church on the 19th of this month to share their testimony. They're missionaries now in Croatia. I had both of them in class, and it was just an amazing thing. So I
Wonderful.
want to reach out to college students uh, to pull them into a relationship with me, first of all, and that hopefully opens up a relationship with Jane, with other college students. We meet as a group sometimes, three or four students who want to meet together. So that's kind of what I do at college.
And then for me, I am a substitute teacher at our local high school. And I have found, and this is so odd because I'm just a silly old lady, I'm sure, when they first meet me, but I become a grandmother figure to them. I even have students going back 10 years who have called me grandma, and I'm still friends on Facebook with them, and they still call me grandma. And it's odd to me, but I'm in the classroom with them. I'm kind, I'm loving. I've had students say, why are you so nice? And I've been told for years that I'm the best sub. And some will meet me at the door and say, what class are you going to be in today? Will I have you today? And they're excited to be with me, even if it's just for one period. And yeah, I have kids that when I'm their sub, they will say, can I come sit by you? And I say, of course. And so they'll move their chair up to the desk, the teacher's desk, and just talk. And I've been doing this for 12 years now, 6 in our local school district. I have kids that have already graduated. I have some that I'm really close to that are going to graduate this next year. And they talk to me about everything. It's just amazing that when you love kids, and a lot of them, oh, mercy, a lot of them are misfits. We live in a very poor county of Kentucky, and there are just a lot of students, children as well, all the way down, who don't have much, and they are ostracized and don't belong. And so sometimes you just have to love them. Just love them like they are, and they will start opening up to you. And eventually that turns into a conversation about Jesus, because and invariably they will ask me, why are you so nice to us? Why are you the best sub? And I said, because I love Jesus. And they go, oh yeah, I remember you go to church. I go, yeah, but it's not just church. And then I can talk more.
Sure.
So I have to tell you a quick story that illustrates what she just said. In the last 2 years, they've asked Jane to sing in the high school talent show where all of the students perform, and she's always the last one.
I'm
And
really a part of the talent show. I just sing while the judges are making their decisions.
so, year before last, she sang "How Great Thou Art." This year, she sang "Amazing Grace." And when she comes out on stage, they give her a standing ovation before she sings. And then, when she gets to the exciting part of the song, they all take out their phones and turn their lights on and move them back and forth like at rock concerts. And it's an amazing thing to watch. The first year I went and slipped in, she didn't even know I was there. And I sat there and wept as I watched these high school students in love with my wife. Matter of fact, so many of the young men love my wife that sometimes I get a little jealous. She's actually been proposed to.
I've been
and
asked to the prom several times.
but they just love her, and it's just Jesus, and we tell people that all the time.
Just Jesus.
Anything you want to compliment us about, it's just Jesus. It's not us. We're just ordinary people, maybe not even ordinary, but
No, you're
it's
not
it's
ordinary,
Jesus.
but yes.
So that's
Ah,
that's just
but
one
you,
example. Yeah.
yes, I am so loving this. And I know we have a gazillion more stories we could listen to, but we need to take a break right here. And I'm just so loving this and excited for the impact you are making in the whole world from where you are. But we'll be right back with
Okay.
Rick and Jane. Hey there! Isn't my guest amazing? So glad you joined us today. In this world that often feels disconnected, building community and fostering belonging are essential. That's why I created this podcast, to bring inspiring people to you, to encourage you to create that sense of belonging and community, no matter where you are. If you're being blessed by my guest, and we have some more, like, subscribe, and share this podcast. You know who needs to hear this. Stay connected, stay true to yourself, and always remember, you belong. Now, back to our amazing guest. And we are back with the very inspiring Rick and Jane, and I'm so glad they're here to share their stories. And if you've heard any of my episodes before, you know that I ask my guests my three favorite questions, and they're not going to get away without answering them too. So first, what do you consider is your greatest accomplishment? Now, this is going to be hard because you have a gazillion of them, but let's just start with the first one that comes to mind.
You've already filled it out, so you go ahead.
Well, I think without a doubt our greatest accomplishment is walking across America.
That's going to be for both of us.
Yeah, we walked 2,770 miles. 20 miles a day, 6 days a week for 6 months. We started at Santa Monica Pier, California, and ended in Washington, D.C. at the Supreme Court steps. And we did it to share our faith with people and to pray for our country and pray for individuals. And we talked to thousands of people across the country. And the stories that came out of that Walk Across America not only were stories about other people's lives that were transformed, but the biggest transformation happened in us. We've never been the same since then. And it was an awesome adventure. So that's it for probably both of us without a question. Yeah.
That would be my answer as well.
Okay, so let's go back to before that. Like, nobody wakes up and says, why don't we go walk across America? I mean,
it was almost
what was the impetus?
It was almost like that. You go ahead and tell. It's
I was studying. We were traveling 7 years. We spent in full-time evangelism, and we were preaching a series. I was preaching a series on reclaiming America, and preaching out of Joshua chapter 1. And I was in a room by myself. I heard a voice. I don't know if anybody else would have heard it or not, but I heard it said, "Do you believe what you're reading?" And I said, "Sure, I believe that. Do you believe what I said to Joshua?" "Yeah, I think you said that to Joshua." And anyway, this conversation, Joshua 1:3 says, "Every place you put the sole of your foot, you can claim for me." And so the voice said, "Do you believe that?" And I said, "Yeah." "Do you believe the principle?" "Yes." "And what do you want to reclaim? Our country? How much?" "All of it." "Well, God said, put the sole of your foot down from one side to the other." And that's how it started. It took me a couple weeks to work up the courage to tell Jane what I thought God was saying.
That's my next question. Yeah. So, like, did you go to Jane and go, "Oh, by the way, we're walking across America"?
Kind of, but we had just started trying to get healthy again, and we were riding bikes. And I said, "Oh, can we ride our bikes?" And he said, "No, we have to put our feet down." So I said, "Okay, if God told you." I mean, by that time we had been married 30 years. That was 20 years ago. I always say, because I tell this story to students, and I say, but that was 20 years ago. We were younger and thinner, and they just laugh. But
we were still in our 50s,
we were in 50s,
and not athletes in any stretch.
But I said, after 30 years in ministry with you, if God told you to, I believe that, and we need to get on this. And so we did a ton of research. We wrote to people, we talked to people, we got information about shoes. We
Band-aids for the blisters,
and Band-aids, and we started walking. So the year before, whoops, I lost my ears, but anyway, I can keep talking. The year before, we actually walked 1,500 miles the year before. Yeah.
So just to get in shape for
just to get ready. Yes, and we had never walked more than 10 miles at a time because, when you train for a marathon, you don't run 23 miles every day. Right. And so we thought that was the way we should train. We were wrong. The first day we walked 21 miles in Los Angeles, and we were beat. We didn't know if we could get up the next morning and walk. Your body never recovers. Because when you run a marathon, you don't run another one usually the next day or the next week or the next month even. We got 20 miles in, went home, got up the next morning and did another 20 miles, got up the next morning, did another 20 miles. So your body never really recovers, never really rests. So it was all God. We know God carried us across the country. He guided our steps. We met the most amazing people.
Yes.
Jane journaled all across America, wrote down the name of every single person we talked to and prayed for. And so
that's how he was able to write our book. So we do have a book. It's called "And So We Walked." And
that's appropriate.
Yes.
It's basically just the stories, hundreds of stories of all the people that we met. And we love those stories because they have a lot to do with belonging. But I think you have another question.
We need to finish the questions first.
Oh, no, I'm enjoying this one. This is great. Yes, walking across America. But I do have one more follow-up question from when God told you, and then you bravely told Jane. How long was it before you started the journey?
About almost a year.
Yeah.
We had a lot of money to raise. The first person we told besides each other or talked about it with, except each other, was our pastor. We went and talked to our pastor about it. I wasn't pastoring at the time. As I said, we were in full-time evangelism. So went and talked to our pastor, Mark Garrett, and
he thought we were crazy.
He thought we were crazy, but he said, "I trust you. And if God told you," and he was our biggest cheerleader. Matter of fact, he flew out to Los Angeles to see us off the first day. he met us in Oklahoma City, which was halfway. And then he came with about, 20 or 30 of our friends on July 4th to walk into Washington, D.C. with us. And he got all the other pastors in our town to have rallies, to have fundraisers for us.
They prayed
They
for us.
met every week we were on the road and prayed for us. And they would call us Monday night and say, "Hey, we just finished praying for you. Let us tell you what God told us." And it was just an amazing thing. When we got home, they had a huge rally for us, made us a quilt while we were gone. They would take it each month and work on it. It was an amazing thing. So yeah.
Wow, wow. And do you have any follow-up with the people that are in the book?
Yes.
A few, yeah.
Yeah. We did for a while because we had a
yeah.
1-800 number back then.
Yeah.
And we
Okay.
had passed out cards so people called us for several months.
We had a lot, but one of our favorite and wonderful friends that we're still friends with now is a lady from Oklahoma, which is my home, but I didn't know her before the walk. She drove up beside us. Her name's Evelyn. She drove up beside us and she said, "Hey, did I see you on TV?" And we said, "Yeah, probably." And she said, "You're walking across America?" And we said, "Yeah." And it was a really hot day. We were both sunburned. It was really hot, like it is today. And she said, "Get in and I'll take you to the next town." And we go, "No, we're walking. We can't get in." She said, "I won't tell." And we said, "No, we're walking."
I don't know.
I don't see
Yeah.
it.
So she drove ahead. She paid for our lunch. She told us where to go. She paid for our lunch. She left $100 in cash and she left some sunscreen and her name and number. And we have kept up with her and have visited with her 3 or 4 times when we've gone out to Oklahoma. And she's my Facebook friend, so we talk all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of
That's
our
amazing.
volunteers, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you said you're not the same people you were before. What
Mhm.
is one thing each of you might say that how you're different?
Well, we learned on the walk to talk to everybody. And it's not that I wasn't a talker before, because I was, but not everybody. But we learned on the walk, I mean, our goal was to talk to everybody. And so we would just pass somebody on the street and say, "Hey, do you know Jesus? Or is there something we can pray for you about?" Or, just some kind of conversation starter. And for me, that's it.
Yeah.
We just learned to be open all the time.
We prayed before the walk started that God would help us to see the people we met through Jesus' eyes. For me, that's been the biggest transformation. And I always tell people when we tell our stories, don't ever pray that unless you want your whole life to be changed and transformed, and your heart to be ripped out day after day after day. Because when you see people the way Jesus sees them, you see them differently. You don't judge them. You're not prejudiced. You don't have any preconceived notions about who they are, what they are. We walked up and talked to some people that we would never have walked up and talked to before. And we walked
They
through
were in
some
shock.
yeah, we walked through some neighborhoods that we were warned, don't walk through them. In Memphis, Tennessee, everybody kept saying, "Don't walk this way. This is a horrible neighborhood. Somebody's going to hurt you." We had people roll down their windows and say, "Change your path. Don't walk through here."
You shouldn't be here.
And we found that the greatest reception we had by the people that we were talking to was in Memphis, Tennessee. We would walk up, we routed ourselves through major cities as much as possible so that we could talk to homeless people, and we kept stacks of McDonald's gift cards so that we could give them gift cards for meals. But I always joke and say, I've been buried in more black bosoms than any other white man I know because
Yeah.
they just would grab me and pull me in their chest, and I said, "Lord, deliver me." And but it was awesome, and they just loved us. And West Memphis and Memphis, two of our favorite places that we walked because the reception among African American people was absolutely
Incredible.
amazing. And
That
yeah,
is amazing. Wow. Okay, second question.
Okay, we better
What
get
makes
going.
you feel like you belong?
Go ahead.
I think for me, my love language is touch, and so for
Oh, you got
me.
all those hugs.
Yeah, I
For
did.
me, it's feeling like I belong is when people actually, maybe not physically touch me, but appreciate me,
Yeah.
pat me on the back, say, "Pastor, that was a great sermon." And I suppose that sounds a little needy, but in retrospect, and I think I am a little needy, and I think all of us need some kind of attention.
Sure.
We
And when,
all are needy.
yeah, and that's what makes me feel belong.
I would have to say music is my thing. I was a music major and I always have a song in my heart. And whenever I hear music or hear people singing or anything to do with music, just I belong.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And of course you know that you belong to God and
Absolutely.
the path
Yes.
that he has for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in his family with all the other misfits of
Yep.
us. We all belong together.
Yes, we do.
And I
Okay,
love
what's
your
your
favorite
favorite?
quote that you gave. Do you remember what you wrote for your favorite
I
quote? Is
don't
that
remember, but
appropriate?
I think I
But you can
I
tell me
probably did.
whatever you're thinking of right now. And
Well, what
Jane,
I'm thinking of right now is by Robert Frost.
that's it.
Okay, and this wonderful poem about coming to um, a fork in a road where there are two paths. And my quote that I love is, "I took the road less traveled by, and it's made all the difference." Actually, that's the name of our ministry, the road less traveled. And so, yeah, that's made a huge impact. I know he wasn't talking from a Christian perspective, but from a Christian perspective, it does make all the difference that we have always taken the road less traveled. We haven't gone down the same path as most people, most preachers, most ministers, but it's. I'm glad we haven't.
I am too. And that's the thing. Every person God has created and gifted to accomplish what he's got planned for them has their own path and it's nobody else's path. So
Right.
why should we go down somebody else's path? Because that's
Yeah.
theirs. It's not
Right. That's
ours.
right.
Mhm.
That's right.
Is that what about you, Jane? Do you have a
Well,
favorite?
I have two, if
Oh,
I'm
okay,
allowed.
bring it.
Okay. The first one is you're going to find funny, but the first one, and it's the first thing that came to my mind. Like I said, he didn't let me read this, so this is new to me today.
Okay.
But the first one that came to my mind is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. That's the definition of whatever insanity.
Insanity.
Yeah. And to me, that just says you need to keep doing different things. You don't need to keep doing the same thing, especially if it's not working. And so that came to me first. I don't know why, but my favorite scripture is my favorite quote, and that is that God works all things together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And that's Romans 8:28. And I trust that daily because no matter what happens, no matter where he leads us into crazy circumstances, it's all going to work out. It's all working for my good because I love him and I know I'm called to his purpose.
And for
Right.
his glory.
And he always adds for his glory, even though that's not actually in Romans, but whatever. What we do is for his glory. So
Well, absolutely.
yeah,
Whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God.
absolutely.
And just the comfort of knowing God is bigger.
Mhm.
And you're doing quilting, and
Yes.
it's a lot like doing tapestry. On the front side, it looks
Yes.
fabulous. On the back side, you see all the threads and everything. And
Yep.
we often are looking up and looking at all the threads and wondering what in the world is God doing. And he's
Exactly.
looking down and says, "I'm making this beautiful tapestry.
Mhm.
What's your problem?"
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So besides choosing the path of, hey, let's walk across America, was there anything else that you think you chose a path? Well, maybe it's pretty unique that you just said yes before you had the question. Is there anything else that you feel like was a path less traveled?
I think.
I don't know if we want to tell the whole story, but going to India was pretty rough. And that was one that he said no to several times before God
Uh-oh.
finally, he just didn't want to go. And we had some
Well, there
really
was a reason.
bad airplane experiences. He doesn't like flying to this day. And he knew we had to fly to get to India. But this little pastor over there just would not let go. And so we finally
What
went.
part of India?
It was Vishakhapatnam on the east coast near the Bay of Bengal.
Okay.
And it was very
Andhra
hot.
Pradesh is the
Andhra Pradesh is
state.
the state. Yes, Andhra Pradesh. But it was very hot. It was very humid, and we were miserable. But
In the will of God.
God used us every day, and
How long were you there?
10 long days. we always say it was the 10 longest days of our life.
10 years. I mean, days.
And yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Awesome.
But
Awesome.
to answer your question, I'm sorry, that was just me sticking that in, but go ahead.
No, that's fine. I mean, there've been lots of things, and
Sure.
we could tell 100 stories, but our our deal has always been to respond in a way that's not normal. So I have to tell this. I'll make this a really short story, which is really a long story. We were driving after church one Sunday, came upon a motorcycle wreck. Jane had a dress on, I had a suit on, and we found this man in the ditch bleeding from several places and
All twisted up.
all twisted up. And Jane jumped down in her dress into this ditch and grabbed his hand and started praying for him. We thought he would die. They brought in the air flight.
Kind of gurgling, and I mean, he wasn't good. Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, we went to see him in the hospital. We began to build a relationship with him. He owned a pool hall. He was tattooed from one end to the other. Rough guy. His family was rough. They were just rough. While I was dealing with him after Jane got out of the ditch, he had a 12-year-old son that she went up into the car, took up to the car that was there.
He had been on his girlfriend's motorcycle, and they didn't wreck, but they had stopped, and so
he was all broken up and
Yeah.
just worried about Joe, and it was just a mess. So Jane prayed with him and took him up to the car and just kind of befriended him. And over a long period of time, we just visited Joe in his house. And I took my youth pastor one time, and I took a big bucket of chicken, and we mowed his grass for him, and we just went by. So when we left that night, my youth pastor said, "You didn't talk about Jesus." I said, "No, I was Jesus." And so Joe, over a period of time, began attending the church I was pastoring. And the last Sunday I was there, I got to baptize Joe and his mother. Now, the rest of the story is a few months ago, we reconnected through Facebook with Joseph, the 12-year-old son, who's now 30. And he lives not too far, about an hour away from our church. So we invited him to come. He and his wife and his two children showed up a couple months ago, and they have been there every Sunday since. They drive an hour one way to come to church, and their testimony is amazing. God used that, taking that 12-year-old to the car, praying with him, and then loving on him for 18 years through Facebook to bring him to Christ. And it's just an amazing thing when you are Jesus to people. That doesn't always mean the Roman road. It doesn't always mean the four spiritual laws. It doesn't always mean you give them a tract. Sometimes it just means you put your arm around them and give them a hug and tell them that whatever they need, you're there for them, or just to love them, or take a bucket of chicken.
Yeah.
And
probably to fit your genre, Joe was not like the other people in our church. And when he came, he was not necessarily liked or accepted. And so,
Well, sure.
yeah,
actually, I got up the Sunday before. He told me he was going to come. And I got up the Sunday before. This was a little country church, 80 years old. Most of the people in the church, their grandfathers had started the church, very traditional. And I
Yes,
got
yes.
up at the end of the service and I said, listen, they knew the story of Joe. We had been keeping them up to date. And I said, listen, Joe is supposed to be here for church tomorrow. He doesn't look like us. He doesn't talk like us. He doesn't smell like us. He's a different animal. But I said, if you don't love him as much as you love me, we're going to have a problem. And I mean, I'm just real honest with people, and tell them the way it is. And some of them didn't like it, and some of them weren't nice. But most of our people were extraordinarily nice. And Joe has passed away since, but his mother and father were members of that church until they passed away. And it's just an amazing thing. And it's something we happened on. It would have been easy to keep driving or
Right.
see the situation and say a little prayer and leave.
Right.
or to
But
say, okay, that the life crew is coming, you're going to be fine, and not ever contact them again. But
Right.
that's not what God said. I mean,
Right.
and that's not what Jesus would do.
right.
Well, you weren't going to be the priest that walked by the
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
man on the side of the road. Oh yeah, this rings a bell. I'm supposed to stop and take him somewhere.
Yeah. Come to find out, when
Oh
I jumped,
wow!
when
I
I
can
jumped
tell
in-
we could talk forever, but we
Yes.
have books to get. And before we do have to close.
Okay.
But before we do, what parting words do you have for our listeners?
I would just say my best advice to any believer is always say yes. You can't go wrong saying yes to God. And we've tried our best to do that. We haven't always been successful. I've had hesitation a few times, but you never go wrong saying yes to God. And I would just tell people our website has lots of stories, pictures of India and China and walking across America. You don't have to buy anything if you go there. You can just read the stories. I do a blog, and it's easy. rickandjanemckinney.com.
That's easy. Yes.
Yep,
Well,
rickandjanemckinney.com.
yay. Well,
Yeah.
thank you to our amazing guests. Thank you,
You're
Rick
welcome.
and Jane. And to our listeners, belongers, stay connected, stay true to yourself, and always remember you belong. This is Dea
Yes,
Irby
you bet.
with Here Where You Belong, signing off. Bye now.
Thanks for tuning in to Hear Where You Belong. We hope today's episode has inspired you to embrace the beauty of belonging in your own life. Remember, no matter where you are or where you're headed, you have a place where you truly belong. Join us again next time for more insightful conversations and heartwarming stories. Until then, stay connected, stay true to yourself, and always remember that you belong.